Hey, Bella here, the girl with the huge dreams of becoming a world-class architect. So, thanks to my boyfriend Ed, I got a job at the super prestigious Starcross Estate Company. I then found out that he was the owner's son. Because of this, some of my colleagues took an instant disliking to me. The worst of them all was this girl called Diane, who made snide comments toward me and kept on undermining my work. But then she went too far when she sent me an email telling me to break up with Ed because he loved her, not me, and she had pictures to prove it. I tried to stay calm as I clicked through the pictures she sent me. One was taken on the recent business trip they went on and was of them sitting next to each other, which obviously didn't prove anything. Another picture was of Diane resting her head on the shoulder of a shirtless man. Okay, so his build was similar to Ed's, but his face wasn't in the picture, so it could have been anyone. There were also images of text messages, allegedly between them both. One message said, "I don't like Bella anymore. I love you, bae." But the fact that Ed used an icon in this message screen capture made me suspect that it was just fake evidence. I knew Ed never uses memes and detests slang. He always types messages out in full sentences with perfect punctuation. As I looked through the images again, I thought that if somebody else sent me this email, I might believe it. But this person was Diane. She showed her jealousy towards my relationship with Ed all the time, so she might do this just to destroy our love. I decided not to let her bother me. So I sent some pictures back to her of Ed and me happy together. Then I prepared to go home. I guessed this made her angry, as the next day she messaged me demanding that I meet her for coffee after work. I tried ignoring her, but geez, she was so persistent. When I blocked her on social media, she bombarded me with messages via her work email. I had to agree to meet her in the end just so I could get some peace. I walked into the cafe to see her drinking a coffee and eating a muffin. She waved me over like we were friends or something, then said, "You are so stubborn. Ed doesn't love you, so break up with him and move on. He likes me, not you." I glared at her. "Oh yeah? So when did this so-called affair start?" She pauses for ages before saying, a month. No, 2 months ago." "Okay, and how do you know he loves you?" There was another long pause before she said, "He tells me all the time." Duh! I told her she was being ridiculous, and she should try finding a real-life boyfriend, not making up stories about mine. As I walked out of there, she shouted after me, "You'll regret this, Bella. Just you wait and see." As crazy as Diane's behavior was, it did get me thinking. There was no smoke without fire, and it was true that Ed had been acting differently around me recently. He barely had lunch with me anymore. He canceled on our date plans due to a work commitment, and then when I made dinner reservations for the two of us, he brought Jim and Ellie along too. Then the business trips became a more regular thing. They were almost every weekend and on random weekdays. Whenever he was away, he never rang me or sent me a message. His excuse was he was busy, but how hard was it to send a text? And the same this time, he was having a long business trip to New York. He went with his team, which included Ellie, and you won't believe, and Diane. Ugh! This made me even more worried. What if Diane wasn't as crazy as I thought? What if Ed really was having an affair with her, and now they had a 1-month trip together? I was very anxious about all of this, but I think I would wait for Ed to come back to meet and ask him directly. It had no solid evidence, and I should believe my boyfriend, right? Anyway, we had a huge project at work, so I tried my best to suppress my worries and focus on my job. Luckily, Jim was always there to offer me advice and help me every time I struggled. Actually, he was a really great guy. And then one time, he totally saved my ass. That day, it was almost home time when my computer suddenly turned itself off and I hadn't saved my drawings. It wouldn't turn back on and I freaked out. There was a full day's unsaved work there. Ugh! How could I be so careless? I was fumbling around underneath my desk trying to fix my computer when Jim appeared and asked me, "What are you doing down there?" I don't know what happened, but I've lost everything I've done today on the Ernest project. He said, "Let me take a look." Then we spent the next 3 hours trying to fix it. Luckily, Jim turned out to be good with technology, so he managed to restore all of my data. I was so thankful. Then I said, "Thank you so much. You must be hungry now? Would you like to go eat something?" My treat for helping me. He smiled as he said,
Sure.
Okay, so it was too late. All the nearby restaurants were shut, so we popped into the convenience store and grabbed some instant noodles, candy bars, and coffees. But it wasn't so bad, actually. Jim smiled and told me,
This was so fun. It reminds me of my college time.
We both laughed. Then we talked about our hobbies and goals for the future and stuff. The next day, I finally got through to Ed. When talking to him, I still appeared to be fine, but I started to tell him more about my problems and pressures at work, and said that I hoped he would come back soon because it would make me more comfortable. I expected him to reassure me and also say that he wanted to meet me too, but no! He told me that lately he was very busy with many projects and I should just ask Jim for work-related help, as he was my boss. Jim was also a close friend he trusted very much and could take care of me when he was not around. I was super disappointed with Ed's answer, so I said, Yep, Jim might be nice to me, but he's my boss, not my boyfriend. He didn't have any responsibility for staying by my side and protecting me like what I need from you. You've changed, Ed. You don't want to be with me anymore, do you?
Bella, stop overthinking. I'm on a work trip. I'm busy. That's all.
I was so mad, and I hung up and I refused to return his apology message. Then, for the rest of the week, I put all my focus into work and tried to block all things Ed-related out of my mind, but it was hard. I missed him like crazy. Then the weekend arrived, and I was relaxing with a book when I heard my doorbell. A part of me was hoping it would be Ed, only when I opened the door, I saw Jim standing there. He said,
Hi, Bella. Sorry for just showing up. Ed asked me to take you out. I think he's afraid you're in stress overload with work or something.
On hearing this, I didn't know whether I should feel happy or sad. So Ed did care about me, didn't he? But then, why wasn't it him at my door, not Jim? So I said, Thank you. That's really nice, but I'm not really in the mood. He replied,
It's no bother. In fact, I know just the place to make you feel better. You may even get some inspiration for our project.
To be honest, I was kinda curious. And if it was work-related, then it would be dumb to miss out, right? To my complete surprise, he took me to the new Museum of Architecture. There were so many amazing models on display, and Jim was a great tour guide. He even led me into a room displaying a 3D model of a city hanging in the air. OMG. It was incredible. I hadn't smiled so much in a long time. Being around Jim was great, but he didn't make me feel like I wasn't good enough or make out I was overthinking things. Instead, I could relax and just be me. Afterward, we went to a wine bar and he bought me a cocktail and we sat down in this cozy booth. He smiled at me and asked,
How do you feel now?
I replied, Much better. Thanks. And thank you for persuading me to go out. I've wanted to go to that museum for ages, but it seems Ed's always too busy to take me. Anyway, thank you. I had a great time. We started on the shots, and it wasn't long before I began to feel tipsy. The problem was that the more I drank, the more emotional I felt, and before I could stop myself, I ended up pouring my heart out to Jim. You know what? Recently, I'm not fine at all. I'm stressed at work, I'm stressed with all this Diane drama, and now even Ed is stressing me out. He raised an eyebrow.
Ed? Really? Why are you worried about him?
I replied, Diane keeps telling me she's having an affair with him. She even sent some photos, but they didn't seem very legit. But these days, Ed is so different. He's so cold and flat towards me. He couldn't even be bothered to come and see me. He sent you instead. No offense. Jim sympathetically looked at me and sighed. He didn't say anything. Then, because I'd drunk too much, I didn't think before I asked him, If Ed really betrayed me, then would you be on his side or mine? There was an awkward pause, so I laughed it off. Ignore me. I know you're Ed's friend, so of course you'll be on his side, right? But then, to my surprise, Jim answered,